All right, so Mike Giardi, you were on the Zoom call yesterday with Bill Belichick, and we played it live and reacted to it live. And I've had time to think about it. The two points. I'll start with the first, which is generally where you start. The first point is that obviously he had talked to an agent or someone, and they were like, just drive, like in your opening thing, drive home these things. You're willing to work with the team, like, you're under contract. These are the things that you'd say. He strategized his first opening remarks, regardless of what you thought about him. They were strategic to put pressure on Kraft, and obviously to say, like, I'm a willing and able employee, essentially. You got
100%. He drew the battle lines, right? Like, if you think this was going to be easy, if you think there was going to be this elegant solution, no. You owe me $25 million or whatever it is. I'm in the last year of my contract. I'm going to keep showing up for work. And you're going to have to decide whether you want to be the guy that pushes Bill Belichick out the door after 24 years and the bazillions of dollars that I've helped you earn and the Super Bowl rings and put you on the map as a franchise consistently for 2 decades. You were the best franchise in football. Go ahead. You want to do that?
I kind of felt like it was also a decent opening statement to prospective employers and other owners out there. It's like, hey, I'm just part of a team. I'm not some maniacal dictator where everything I do has to be my way. That I'm just one of many people here. So while it made sense for the Patriots, there wasn't any mention of the Patriots yesterday. It was this team or my team or the team. And I'm like, that's interchangeable for a lot of different situations.
Yeah, I was driving back from the locker room yesterday in the morning, and I heard you make that observation where it was, you're very astute.
So two people know each other, I guess.
Get used to that, too, Giardi.
Yeah, this is the first time.
I was like, wow, look at the big brain on that guy.
I saw you two talking to everyone to blow up their spot. The two of them were talking like old chums outside.
This is how I make you look good.
Yeah. So they obviously have a relationship. Go ahead. Continue. All right. So you heard Hardy coming home, and what happened?
No, he was
spot on analysis.
Right.
And then what?
Yes, that guy. I'll tell you what, that guy blew my mind.
Did your day improve at all, or was it just like
that's how you wrote your column?
I felt enlightened.
It was you,
and then the words flew out of my fingers.
You had Bedard on one shoulder and Hardy on the other, tickling your ear.
I don't know if I want that visual. Thank you.
Well, Bedard's lost a lot of weight. I hear the commercials.
Yeah.
All right. So you heard him. So you thought it was to potential employers as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, but the thing is, how dumb does he think people are? Like the other 31 owners. Yeah, does he?
I think he really does.
Because legitimately, all you got to do is it's like you do your background work on the guy, and it doesn't matter really what he said in the press conference. You got 24 years of evidence that shows you what he is and how he's going to operate his program and his system. And we've talked so much about the idea, like, well, like he's willing the GM thing. I'm willing. Maybe whatever's best for the team. You think the guy at 71, going on 72 next year, is all of a sudden going to be like, I've done it for 50 years this way, but now I'm going to change? Because generally, as you get older, you get looser with your eyes. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Like I'm 20 years younger than he is. 20 years younger than him. I'm about as set in my ways as humanly possible. I can't imagine being him and having all that success and being like, yeah, you know what, though? You're right. Maybe I should change the way I've done business.
Well, Mike, to that point, what kind of candidate are you going to get as a GM? Like, what would any GM candidate worth anything want to come into the Patriots with a 72-year-old coach next year, with someone who is, quote-unquote, giving up control that he's had for 50 years? What would anyone take this job?
I know. So the people that would take the job are the people that have already been here. The John Robinsons, the Dave Zieglers, Pioli. You're going to bring Pioli off Nantucket after not, being involved with the NFL for the last.
Well, he's with the NFL Europe.
Yes.
I saw him on the NFL Network, and he plugged it for far too long. That's what I'll never forget, that he was with NFL Europe. He did a great job because he just kept going, and they never cut him off. And he went for like 10 minutes on the NFL Europe, and I went, huh?
When last we saw Pioli in the National Football League, wasn't he monitoring people's phone calls in Kansas City? if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was a big weirdo in
That
Kansas
was his
City.
last. Yeah, that was his last GM gig, and then he went over and helped Dimitrov in Atlanta as like an advisor.
But the last time he was in control of
Yes.
anything, he got pushed out the door for monitoring employees' phone
Well,
calls.
a bunch of stuff came out after they got rid of him. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he was a super weird guy.
Not good.
Very controlling.
I wonder where he learned that from.
Yeah, and this would. All right, well then let's get in the brain because this all sounds horrible. I mean, there's no succession plan. Hal wrote yesterday about the possibility of McDaniels coming back as offensive coordinator, and that's great. I mean, he's better than obviously he's a good offensive coordinator. He's had success before, but then there's no succession plan. There's nothing. My theory was with all of this, you're bringing it back what you did 3 years ago. You're just repeating the same mistake, but with an older coach. So to win with McDaniels and Belichick, with the lack of talent you'd have, let's take it to the furthest conclusion. Like, so you keep Belichick. He's got to win in the next couple of years. That means with the third pick, you take Marvin Harrison Jr. or you trade out of it. You then go crazy in free agency again and get a bunch of players that made it to free agency, which generally, with possible exceptions, are not the greatest. You've bought yourself another couple-year window where you'll be a borderline playoff team, and then you're going to have to go through all of this again in 2 years. 3 years.
Yeah, the concern for me as I look at sort of the big picture element of it is, say you're at 3 and it's not Marvin Harrison. Say that when you whoever's picking the play, this organization decides that Jaden Daniels is legitimately a franchise quarterback, and the kid from LSU won the Heisman, and you pick him at 3. How many years does Bill have left? Right? Is Bill here for 2 more years to get the record, and then that's that? Then he'll be 74. Like, there's not a long-term thing with Bill. And if you're going to bring in a franchise quarterback and you think this is the guy that's going to be the next guy for 10 years, I don't want to have the rotating. You just did it with Mac, who obviously has the physical limitations. And then as time went on, he had some mental limitations on the field as well. But, like, you had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. It's conceivable that, I mean, I don't think he's going to be here, but let's just say because he's not making any money, he's in the room next year. You could have another guy, like you could have gone back to Josh. You're doing something different again. It's like those are the things that bad organizations do. It's why for 20 years in the AFC East, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets were constantly changing. Quarterbacks, coaches, general managers, every 2-3 years, it's like, they get this GM. Well, that's not my coach, but we're together for this year. Well, then he fires him, and then the new coach comes in and goes, this quarterback sucks. We got to get a new quarterback, and you're just constantly rotating. It took the Bills finally did it after 16 years when they inserted McDermott into the mix here, and McDermott and Allen, and now they've been 3-4 years in a row they've won the AFC East, but like it took forever. And
Buddy Nix, remember Buddy Nix?
Oh yeah.
God, he was awful.
Doug Marrone,
Yes,
was
Doug
the head
Marrone.
coach, and then opted out of an NFL job.
I just remember when the Jets hired Idzik after the draft.
Yes,
Yes,
that's right.
Oh no, was it Douglas that they hired after the draft? They let Idzik do the draft, and then they hired Douglas
Right.
after the draft was over.
Yeah.
They let a GM go through an entire draft, and they fired him before the season, and put another GM in. So yeah, these organizations are bad, but it's getting to this point with the Patriots.
they got to. I mean, look, they got to get it right, and then that leads back to the conversation, and you get the calls and the social media, like you're crazy. Like who's? I heard Mike Reese, very well plugged in. Mike Reese talking on this radio program and saying, "Well, if you're gonna move on from Bill, you better make sure it's an upgrade." Well, how do you know?
Well, that's the thing is I've heard this term too. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. No. And then there's no guarantee that the next guy is going to be any good. Of course, there's not.
In fact,
but
it's
say
probably the case.
But yeah, probably it won't be that great. But say you draft Jaden Daniels, and you keep Belichick. So Belichick's his coach for 2 years, and then he's gone. And then you're right back where you started, but you've ruined Jaden Daniels, as he just said. Or Jaden Daniels is getting into the year where he's supposed to show his 3rd year in the NFL, and now you're switching coaches on him. So there's no way if Belichick's coach and you bring him back Josh McDaniels that you that you draft a quarterback with the 3rd pick. There's no way. Because that doesn't improve you right away. What you would do is you'd go get like Kirk Cousins, or you'd go get the mustache man from Indianapolis. Minshew. And then you would maybe, to appease people, take a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round.
Right.
And then you would run out and you would spend an assload of money in free agency. You'll win 9 games next year. You'll sneak into the playoffs. You'll get blown out in the 1st round. And then in 2026, I'm still under contract. 2026 offseason, we're talking about
how all things are judged.
Well, no, I just want to make sure I'm on the air here. I would be, or they'll be paying me either way because I am a willing and able employee.
I understand.
That was a
whatever's
Belichick
best
reference.
whatever's best for the organization.
That was a Belichick reference in reference to yesterday's press conference. So we'll be having this I can assure you, we'll be having this exact same conversation. I can promise you that we'll be having the exact same conversation. I never in the history of the NFL, to my knowledge, and we've looked into it quite a bit, has a team been bad, gone nuts in free agency, and won for a sustained period of time. A sustained period of time meaning 2 or 3 years. It just hasn't happened. You've bought yourself a mediocre window of a year or two. All right, we'll be back. Mike Giardi is here as he can't sleep. The amount of amphetamine in this man's system is hard. He has been up for 48 hours.
Are those the Reds or the Greens?
Oh, it's just greenies, like the old Ball 4 days.
Okay.
Just eating greenies.
They're in the punch bowl.
I remember everyone was like, read the book Ball 4. It's this pitcher from the 60s wrote this book about Major League Baseball, and he's like talking about, I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And they're like, oh, he's talking about how all the players took amphetamines. I'm like, to play baseball? Like to stand in left field and go, but I guess you would just be so hungover that you had to, and they had a lot of day games, that you would just take amphetamines not to sleep.
Yep.
Much. That's why you got guys looking like Phil Niekro.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Niekro looked like he was 98 years old when he was pitching. You were like, who's the old guy? He's like younger than all of us.
Rick Russell. Do you remember Rick?
Oh,
Russell?
yeah. I remember Rick
Dad
Russell.
bod Russell,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
I mean, Ken
Started an all-star game, that guy.
Ken DeColve would just put glasses on his unit so girls would recognize him. All right, if you want to talk Rick Russell.
I don't think that's
That took a weird turn.
I just thought of baseball cards when I was a kid.